Hello everybody and welcome back. We are once again taking a look at some more Regulation H content. Before we get into it for the 2026 VGC season, we're hopping all the way back to Toronto Regionals from last year. We're going into Swiss round number 3 and this one is pretty fun, which you will see for yourself. We have Jesse Romolo in the iconic Hotdog outfit versus Kylan Van Severen here. I'm very excited for this round. Regulation H has a lot of unique combination stuff that you're not going to see outside, in other regulations. And right here is one of my all-time favorites, Tyranitar and Excadrill, your Sandstream Sandrush iconic duo, along with Dragonite, Indeedee male, not female, Annihilate, and Sneasler. So Tyranitar down on the bottom left, Terra Flying, Assault Vest, your most standard Tyranitar set you're going to get in this regulation. Rock Slide, Low Kick, Knockoff, and Terra Blast. Sneasler right next to it with the Psychic Seed, Terra Flying as well. Dire Claw, Close Combat, Acrobatics, and Protect, probably the most game warping Pokemon of the format, along with that Unburdened. Excadrill right above, Sandrush, Protect, Ironhead, Earthquake, High Horsepower, and the Focus Sash. Notably no Swords Dance here, although sometimes we see that, and it is Terra Ground. Annihilate right next to it with the Terra Stellar to get a ton of damage out with Close Combat, Final Gamut, Ranged Fist, and Taunt. Has the Safety Goggles as well, and Defiant. Dragonite here, Inner Focus, Loaded Dice, Scale Shot, Terra Blast, Haze, and Protect with the Terra Flying. And then Indeedee male here with the Psychic Surge, Expanding Force, and Choice Specs, essentially an all-in-one Expanding Force special attack damage beast. Hyper Voice, Trick, and Terra Blast round things out here. Trick is notable. Sometimes you might see Indeedee male with a Choice Scarf to get that trick off as well, just to lock, particularly pesky Pokemon into a single move here. This team seems quite straightforward. You're going to be trying to get a lot of damage out with your Excadrill, Annihilate, and Sneasler. Indeedee male is going to be brought in probably a little bit more niche situations. And as we see here, yes, Jesse Romolo, I wouldn't say unfortunately. I think this was incredibly intentional. I think unfortunately implies that he didn't mean to be here. And Kylan Van Severen notably doesn't like hot dogs. Okay, that's an interest. I don't know if that quote's actually attributed to them. But on this other side here, I hope we get to see Kylan's team because I am actually super intrigued by this as well. You got a little bit of sneak peek from it before, and it is a Dondozo Tatsugiri. Dondozo here is Covert Cloak, Terra Steel, so can't get hit by a potential Clear Smog, but Haze is on the other side. Wave Crash, Order Up, Heavy Slam, and Protect. And then Tatsugiri with the Curly Form, Focus Sash, Terra Ghost to avoid Fake Out, Muddy Water, Dragon Pulse, Taunt, and Protect. Also another Annihilate, but this one's Terra Water with Safety Goggles, Close Combat, Rage Fist, Coaching as well to buff up a Dondozo even more, along with Protect. Volcarona, Heat Wave Struggles, Will-O-Wisp, and Tailwind? That's Struggle Bug, not Struggle. I am almost certain. And then Citrus Berry with the Terra Water, Dragonite with the Loaded Dice, again, very, very common. I think we have the exact same thing on the other side. The Terra type is Flying, though, I believe, and I think it's Terra Blast instead of Protect. But Scale Shot, Extreme Speed, Haze, and Protect here. And then Archaludon, but no rain to support it, with the Terra Grass, Power Herb, to get that Electric Shot going off in one turn here, and then the Draco Meteor, Flashkin, and a Protect of its own. It's also a sturdy Archaludon instead of a stamina Archaludon. That's incredibly interesting to me. I wonder if it is intended to be stamina and it's just a team sheet error, but we'll certainly have to see here. But looking at this, the main core of this team is that Dondozo Tatsugiri. You're going to be trying to buff it up a bit with that Annihilate with Coaching, get your Tailwinds off with Volcarona and Will-O-Wisp Struggle Bug as well to provide some additional support. On the other hand, you can also go for a more high damage route off the bat with both the Archaludon and the Dragonite. Getting an Electric Shot off into a Draco Meteor for that Archaludon feels really, really good. But on the other side of things, Archaludon really does not like to see an Excadrill coming. But that said, I don't think there are any super effective moves that Jesse has to deal with the Dondozo should that come about other than Haze on the Dragonite. So the leads here for Kylan, Dragonite, and Volcarona. For Jesse, Dragonite and Annihilate here. So Loaded Dice on both sides here. I think the only thing that Jesse does not have over Kylan is essentially that extreme speed. Although I think there is Tailwind as well. That could be pretty big coming up here. Volcarona, though, with Heat Wave or Struggle Bug could start putting in work. The main thing is going to be that I'm interested in is what is this Annihilate going to be going for? Are we going to get that Final Gambit right off rip? Are we trying to take out either of these Pokemon immediately? And for Jesse, do you want to try to set up Tailwind here? If you don't go for Terastallization, you are at risk of the opposing Dragonite just being able to take you out. You can get Tailwind set up here, though, and that's going to give you a consistent advantage throughout the rest of the game, it feels like. We do see a Terastallization coming out here. I do believe this is from Jesse. Dragonite going into that Terra Flying. Indeed, that is exactly what it is. That's going to allow it to resist, or well, at least not be weak to any potential Scale Shots that come through. Terraflying comes in. Now, who is going to win what is likely going to be a speed tie? Volcarona actually gets the Tailwind off first. It's the faster of the Pokemon. That is good to know. You don't always know with the Volcarona sometimes, especially if they're Citrus Berry. They're trained to be a little bit bulkier and maybe a special attacker. But you see the Scale Shot now coming out of Kylan's own Dragonite, taking Annihilate down to probably about a third of its HP after one more here. Oh, nope, we get two more. So down to about a quarter of HP, into the red even from Annihilate. That critical hit doing a lot of work. That does make Dragonite's defense fall here. What does Jesse get to do now with that Dragonite defense drop? Final Gambit comes through, doesn't matter on the defense now, and it is just going to be that 42 points of damage essentially from the Final Gambit going on to Kylan's Dragonite. So that is an Annihilate down. Dragonite gets to use Tailwind from Jesse. That's incredibly interesting. So Jesse's King Gambit, or not Jesse King Gambit, Jesse's Annihilate is faster than his own Tyranitar. That is actually pretty big to note here. That tells me that Jesse's Dragonite is not actually all that fast, I would imagine. So that does mean Sneasler makes its way on to the battlefield. Fake Out is live. I believe Kylan's Dragonite is Inner Focus as well. So Fake Out there won't do all that much. And this Dragonite is going to be incredibly speedy with that Skill Shot boost along with Tailwind. It should be the fastest thing on the field. And that's going to pose quite a threat to anything that Jesse has on the board. For Kylan, Volcarona now can just start being a little bit pesky. You can start throwing out Heat Waves to get some chip damage in, or you can start throwing out things like Struggle Bugs to manipulate some stat changes. Now, for Jesse, Sneasler is going to have to try to do a lot of work here. You do have the Psychic Seed. You might be hoping you're going to be able to get some Psychic Terrain to proc. Sneasler is just going to go for the Protect here. You might just have to try to wait out the Tailwind if you're Jesse, but at the same time, with the Volcarona still being on the field, I don't know if that'll do all that much here. Scale Shot does a decent amount. This won't be enough to one-shot unless we get another critical hit, maybe? But even then, no, yep, it doesn't look like it. But this is going to take Jesse's Dragonite down to a considerably low level into the yellow. It did only hit 4 times, and now Kylan's Dragonite is at -2 here. It is incredibly speedy, but a single Scale Shot might be enough to take it out here, or almost certainly will be. Heat Wave, though, will this be enough without the resistance for this? Dragonite goes down to 2 HP. That is pretty big. The burn comes through, so Jesse's Dragonite is going to be going down no matter what. Will it be able to take out something else with it? We see the Terra Blast. This is going to be Terraflying going into the Volcarona. Volcarona is probably pretty tanky here and can take it like an absolute champ. Citrus Berry is going to heal it up to just above half HP, or just about half HP rather, and that is going to put Jesse at the end of this turn down to his final 2 Pokemon, Sneasler and one other. I'm sure we've seen it pop up on the screen, but I will be honest, I have not paid attention. And right now, if you're Kylan, you're feeling really, really good. Your Dragonite's at -2 defense, sure, but you're at +2 speed. You have Tailwind set up, and if you need to, you're going to maintain that Tailwind advantage. So Jesse bringing in that Psychic Terrain. We do have that Indeedee Mail here. It's going to be a little bit fast, I imagine. There is no Trick Room for Jesse, but there is no Choice Scarf either. So Dragonite is going to be able to do whatever the heck it wants to do here. I imagine that it can take out either one of these Pokemon pretty comfortably, or at least get them very, very low, and then Volcarona can do the rest of the work here. For Jesse, I think at this point you might just be trying to scout out, try to see if you can take out one of these Pokemon to see what else Kylan brought in the back, but Kylan is just going to go for the Dragonite here, keeping it nice and safe. And what is the Volcarona going to do here? Dire Claw comes through, going into the Dragonite, which does not connect due to that Protect. That could have been pretty big, and the Struggle Bug comes through. That's exactly what you would expect. Indeed, he takes a pretty big hit from it. Sneasler does not really mind all that much here, and Indeedee's special attack falls. Sneasler's falls as well, but it doesn't really matter all that much. Expanding Force here is going to do, it's going to do some work. That Choice Specs is going to be pretty big, but that -1 special attack, I think, is going to make it pretty tough for Jesse to get much more done here. Kylan's Volcarona does manage to survive on just a little bit of HP there. Dragonite should be the fastest Pokemon on the field right now. Even with Tailwind, even with Sneasler being pretty quick here. So I imagine Kylan can do whatever he wants. You can take out the Sneasler, leave Indeedee to its own devices with one or more Struggle Bug from that Volcarona. We did see that it is the faster Pokemon of the 3 that we saw move. So what is Jesse going to go for? Wow, even with the +2 speed, Dragonite does not outspeed this Sneasler. That is incredible. So Volcarona is going to get one more attack off. It is going to be the Will-O-Wisp into the Sneasler, making sure that its attack stat is absolutely neutered as well. So Sneasler burned. This is going to almost start, this is going to reveal the last 2 Pokemon that Kylan brought. Not able to make it quite incredibly as clean as the early stages of this game were. Now, if you're Jesse, you're not in the worst position. The game is still certainly winnable. Again, Tailwind is going to fall on both sides, and I'm sorry, I keep hitting my mic. and Indeedee is going to have to do a lot of heavy lifting here. Even at -1, this Expanding Force should still be able to do quite a bit. It is a Dondozo coming out. Are we going to see the Tatsugiri as well? Yes, we will. All right. I think Jesse now is just going to have to try to do some scouting here. This is going to be a lot of damage, and this thing is going to be incredibly difficult to take out, especially with Dragonite having already fallen. So you get the full attack stat, or you get the full stat boost from Tatsugiri's commanders. Dondozo now is going to be able to do whatever it wants. It's going to be able to have a bit of a field day here. And for Jesse, you just want to be able to see how much damage you can do to this Dondozo. Dire Claw comes through, doesn't do all that much. Do we get a status condition? No, that would have been the big thing. Wave Crash comes through. It's going to take out the Indeedee, so no additional damage here. Now, Jesse, again, you could just kind of hope for Dire Claw to get some good status conditions, you know, try to tough this one out. Are you going to be able to out damage the Dondozo with a burn and with some good Dire Claw rolls? Looks like Jesse is saying no. We'll give it a few seconds here just to be fair. Yeah, so Jesse concedes game number 1, going to Kylan Van Severen. That was an interesting game. I'm a little bit, I know Sneasler's fast, but I'm a little bit surprised that Dragonite did not outspeed after 2 speed boosts. I think that, you know, that tells you that it's a bit of a bulkier Dragonite, I would imagine. It's still quite strong, but Dragonite can be decently fast. So even at doubling speed, that Sneasler was still outspeeding it. With no speed boost of its own. Both players had Tailwind up, so that is going to be notable for Kylan moving into the rest of the games. Knowing for sure that this Sneasler is incredibly fast, and you're going to have to contend with that. Dire Claw doing a lot of work. Even just one status condition roll there, I think would have swung the game a little bit back in Jesse's favor. But going into game number 2, I'm interested to see if we have any adjustments from either player here. I think if you're Kylan, that game 1 went really, really well, and we'll have to see how game 2 shapes up. So leads here are different. Kylan changing it up. It is Annihilape and Archaludon versus Tyranitar and Excadrill, my dynamic duo here. I'll try not to play favorites too much here. But so we have this Excadrill with the Focus Sash here. It's going to be able to at least get some damage off no matter what. It should be the fastest Pokemon on the field right now. Archaludon is in a very, very tough spot here. You either have to Terrastalize or retreat to get out of this. Excadrill can do a ton of damage. That said, you are sturdy for this Archaludon. Again, if that team sheet was correct, which it certainly could be. So if you're sturdy Archaludon, you can potentially get off any of your moves. Draco Meteor here, Electro Shot into Tyranitar. I don't know if that feels too good, but Tyranitar can also go for Terra Blast, Terra Flying here into the Annihilape. The question is, though, for Jesse, are you going to be playing into that Archaludon, going for Electro Shot into the Tyranitar? We do see Jesse going for the Terrastalization here. Tyranitar should be the slowest thing on the field. That's Terrastalizing. I don't think we're going to see anything from Kylan here. That is going to be Terra Flying on that Tyranitar. So again, you're most likely going to be seeing the Terra Blast come out whenever you see that Terra Flying. Now, for Kylan, what are the options? Earthquake comes through. This is going to do quite a bit of damage to both of these opposing Pokemon. I don't know if it'll do enough to KO Annihilape, and that Archaludon actually takes it very, very well. Close Combat comes through onto the Excadrill and takes it down to 1 HP. What is the Archaludon going to do here? You could do Draco Meteor, you could do Electroshot. I think those are the 2 moves that you are looking for. I think you want to take out this Tyranitar as fast as possible. Annihilape does get weakened a little bit. It is just going to be that Flash Cannon going into the Excadrill slot and taking it down early. This is going to mean Tyranitar gets an attack off here, and Terra Blast, Terra Flying should be more than enough to clean up this Annihilape. That is exactly what we see. It's going to come through. Annihilape is not protected, and especially with that defense drop from the close combat, Annihilape is going down cleanly. So a Pokemon for a Pokemon here, but there is no damage on the Tyranitar. Kylan not in a great spot here. Dragonite and Indeedee both in the back for Jesse. We see there, and Archaludon, it is faster than Tyranitar, but is it the fastest thing on the field for the rest of this game? Dondozo makes its way onto the battlefield now with that Covert Cloak. Does that mean we see the Tatsugiri in the back? You don't always have to bring it if you are Kylan, but if, you know, from what Jesse remembers from the first game, I imagine that might be what we have to suspect. So we have Archaludon, we have Dondozo. Dragonite and Tyranitar both don't really want to take an Electro Shot, both don't want to take a Draco Meteor, and that is what they have to contend with across the board here. Dragonite is going to retreat for Jesse. That is going to be the Indeedee making its way back out onto the battlefield. Kylan has a few options here again for attacks, but I think, again, my personal opinion, I think taking out this Tyranitar is got to be priority numero uno. Draco Meteor comes through, it goes into the Indeedee, takes it down to 9 HP. Indeedee should I don't think it'll quite go down to Sandstorm on this turn. Wave Crash is going to come through, going into that Indeedee slot again, and this means Tyranitar gets another free attack off. It has that low kick, which is going to do a great amount of damage, and it should, quite frankly, do all the damage needed into the Archaludon slot, and Archaludon goes down. So Kylan prioritizing the the other slot, letting Tyranitar just kind of do whatever it wants to do here. Dondozo is going to get buffeted by the Sandstorm a little bit, but Dragonite now coming back out on the battlefield. I can understand Kylan not wanting, or not wanting to let this Dragonite survive, wanting to try to avoid any potential hazes, wanting to try to make sure that you set up this Dondozo for the rest of the game really, really well. But now with the Tatsugiri coming out, this Dragonite should be able to survive anything that the Dondozo throws at it, get a haze off, and then you're just in a very, very tough spot for Kylan. You're just in a you're just in a very plain 1v2 while Tatsugiri has to sit in Dondozo's mouth. So what are we going to see from Kylan is the question here. I don't think Protect is really going to do much. You might as well just go for the haze, and we have the knockoff from Jesse as well. It doesn't really matter all that much. Sometimes you're going to have a Citrus Berry, a leftovers on the Dondozo, but it is the Covert Cloak, and Tyranitar survives the Wave Crash incredibly well. The recoil coming through onto that Dondozo, I mean, that is incredibly impressive. This is an incredibly tanky Tyranitar to survive that boosted Wave Crash there. It's not super effective, but that's still a lot of damage. So Jesse, a very bulky Tyranitar, is good to know. We see the haze come through. Dragonite's at basically full HP. It's going to get buffeted by the Sandstorm a little bit, but this is just a war of attrition now that Jesse should win outright. Tatsugiri will be the last thing on the battlefield. Actually, okay, hold on. You know what? Maybe I got ahead of myself. Dragonite is going to have to take out 2 Pokemon. But right now we are essentially just in singles battles. Scale Shot here will lower his defense, so if this doesn't take out the Dondozo, it definitely should. If this doesn't take out the Dondozo, it's going to be tough, but notably Scale Shot can break Tatsugiri's Focus Sash and still take it out in one go. I think Jesse has this game pretty much on lock, even though it is just the solo Dragonite against a 1v1 and then another 1v1. Dondozo should not outspeed with that haze stat drop. Although we did see that Jesse's Dragonite is not the fastest thing on the field, so going to be very intriguing to see how this goes. We see the Terastallization coming out for Kylan, you might as well, right? Dondozo going into that Terra Steel here. It's going to resist the Scale Shot as best as possible. So for Jesse, the question is, does Scale Shot KO here, and do you attack first? You do attack first. Scale Shot, I don't know if 4 shots will KO. I think 5. No, okay. Dondozo's still going to stay on the battlefield. It's still going to survive one more turn here. All right, yeah. Dondozo manages to survive. It's on a sliver of HP. A Wave Crash will make it KO itself, notably. Even though Sandstorm will not take it out, but it is going to be an order up coming through. Instead, Dragonite takes a ton of damage from it. So that is going to raise Dondozo's attack. Dondozo will not go down to this Sandstorm here, but on the next turn, any type of move, if it goes for a Wave Crash or any type of move from this Dragonite will take it out. So how much damage do you have to do if you are Kylan? I don't believe this Dondozo had Protect here. If it does, that could be relevant. I'm pretty sure the Tatsugiri did. Sandstorm only has this one last turn, though, I believe, so I don't think that's going to be a win condition. Yeah, okay, Dondozo does go for the Protect. Dondozo did have it, does go for it. So you're going to get as much chip damage as possible onto this Dragonite before you have to sacrifice the Dondozo. I almost wonder if it would have been perfectly fine, or well, no, because then the Tatsugiri would have come out, you would have broken the Focus Sash. Sandstorm does fade. Dragonite doesn't take any damage from it, actually. Terra Blast comes through. That's going to take out the Dondozo, and Dragonite should just be able to take home the rest of this game. Tatsugiri is going to come out. You're going to be able to just Scale Shot away if you are Jesse. It's going to be super effective, and that should be more than enough damage. The Psychic Terrain disappears from the battlefield. Doesn't matter all that much. We do see the Scale Shot come out. Kylan fighting till their last breath here, it seems. Now, how much damage does this do to Tatsugiri? Again, always helps to do a little bit of research. This Dragonite does have the loaded dice, but we do know it's a little bit tankier. It's not that fast, it seems. Tatsugiri just going for the Protect here. Kylan maybe trying to just stall out some of this, some of the PP here. I don't know if that is going to be an effective choice, but we'll have to see. Again, slowly but surely, Kylan fighting to the last breath. You can always respect it. Never give up, never surrender. Oh, and actually, Tatsugiri actually has some chip damage on it. So this wouldn't have mattered all that much anyways. All right, Scale Shot would have been a 2-shot no matter what. Jesse Romolo takes game number 2 here. So a little bit of a closer game, a little bit of a closer affair there. Kylan trying to prioritize, letting the Tyranitar have some free reign, prioritizing that Dragonite that came in, trying to take it out if it had haze, but a smart switch from Jesse cleaning up the rest of the game. I think that's a difficult turn here. I think that's the pivotal turn. If you are Kylan, is Dragonite going to be able to do a ton outright right then and there, or are you going to be more worried about the Tyranitar? I think personally the Tyranitar was more of a threat because then you could just lock Dragonite onto the battlefield. And then even if Dondozo does end up back on the battlefield, you don't have to worry about quite as much damage. You know that Indeedee goes down really, really fast to whatever you have. But going into game number 3, I'm imagining we're going to see some more adjustments. Again, we saw the Excadrill come in. It did quite, it got taken down very, very quickly, but that was notable. The Earthquake doing quite a lot to both of Kylan's starting Pokemon. So game number 3 here, I'm interested to see what adjustments get made. And it is just going to be Dondozo coming out first for Kylan, along with the Archaludon, and then Dragonite and Excadrill for Jesse. So I really like these types of leads from Excadrill plays. You can bring in the Tyranitar if you really feeling like being sacrificial. You can throw out an Earthquake, or you can throw out one of your other ground type moves and bring the Tyranitar into the other slot if you need to. If you are Jesse, you know that Kylan really prioritized taking out the Dragonite in the previous game. I don't know why you would change from that position, at least right now. Dragonite, big threat. Excadrill can do a lot of damage, can do a lot of work, but also if you're a Kylan, you have 2 Pokemon that can deal with it not too ineffectively. I'm very interested to see what this Dondozo goes for. I honestly wouldn't be shocked if we see it swap out potentially, and we could just outright see a Tatsugiri come in. Is Jesse going to make the call to click Haze on this turn is the question. Tatsugiri makes his way onto the battlefield. Dragonite is here. A Haze on this turn would be absolutely brutal. Do you have enough damage in the tank, Kylan, to take out this Dragonite? Attack goes up sharply thanks to the commander there. Dondozo is going to be able to hit like an absolute truck. All right, again, so we just got to be patient here. Hold on, hold your horses. Jesse does go for the Terastallization. I think this is going to be, okay, it is going to be Dragonite going for that Terra. Goes into Terra Flying here. Doesn't add any weaknesses or resistances, but does make a Terra Blast Terra Flying, or a Terra Flying Terra Blast that much stronger. Order Up does come through. This is no longer going to be resisted by the Dragonite, but it only takes it down to about half HP. Dondozo does get another attack boost here. Earthquake's going to come through from the Excadrill that is going to be avoided by the Dragonite, and then we are going to see how much damage it gets to do to this Dondozo here. Not all that much. And how much is this Terra Flying? Ooh, never mind. Went for the Terra Flying and the Tailwind as well. I guess you're trying to avoid a Draco Meteor one-shot from the Archaludon. I believe that's what it is. And now, though, with the Tailwind up, how fast are you going to be? High Horsepower does a ton of damage into the Dondozo. That is a massive critical hit. Haze comes through from the Dragonite, and Kylan Van Severen is now in a very, very difficult spot. That attack boost from the Dondozo, it is going to be able to take out the Dragonite still here, but that absolutely hurts. So, high horsepower from the Excadrill, doing a ton of work. Dondozo is going to get damaged by the recoil here, and we know that Excadrill is currently faster than the Dondozo. Dondozo is going to go down here on this next turn. Indeed, he's going to set that Psychic Terrain here. If you're Kylan, you can go ahead and go for the Protect to make sure that Psychic Terrain, you get one fewer turns of that Psychic Terrain. You don't have to worry about Expanding Force quite as much, but does that give the option for Jesse to switch in something more dangerous like a potential Sneasler is the question. So, at the same time, Kylan could just go ahead and say, okay, this Dondozo is not going anywhere. We're not getting anything effective done with this. But again, I think a Protect here would be quite useful. You stall out the Psychic Terrain, and you can also stall out one more turn of Tailwind. You really don't want to have to deal with that for the entire rest of the game. We do see that Protect here. It's going to stall out both. Dragonite's not there to set it up anymore. So that should, within 2 more turns, give Kylan another opportunity to swing things in their favor here. Dondozo is going to go down on the next turn, and we did already get to see that the Indeedee went for the Expanding Force, notably. That gives Kylan a little bit more information. If you're Jesse, though, I think you just click the same thing again. Make sure that Dondozo goes down. That is actually interesting. So Dondozo is going to go down to the Expanding Force. I almost wonder if you would have rather... Would you have rather had Expanding Force hit the Tatsugiri than the High Horsepower? It's going to break the Focus Sash either way. Okay, never mind. Doesn't matter. Takes Tatsugiri down to a single bit of HP anyways. Tailwind now peters out, and now Tatsugiri is quite a fast Pokemon here. Dragonite comes out from Kylan as well, revealing Pokemon number 4. And this is going to be a pretty tough spot, I think, for Jesse to maneuver. There is Muddy Water and a Draco Meteor on the other side for that Tatsugiri. If that hits, it's going to be doing a lot of work here. Expanding Force is still quite a powerful move with those choice specs. You have Iron Head, you have Earthquake, you have, I believe, Stomping Tantrum. No, High Horsepower is what Excadrill has, the other ground type move. But I don't think you have to worry about that too much from the Tatsugiri. You're going to let your Indeedee try to take care of that. How fast now are Kylan's Pokemon trained? That is going to be the big question. We do have Extreme Speed, notably from the Dragonite, but since it's a priority move, it is not going to be effective here. Tatsugiri does go for the Protect here. I think that is a smart move. Keep it on the battlefield for as long as you can and let this Dragonite get some work in. Indeedee notably is faster than the Dragonite. We knew it was faster than the Excadrill, but this Pokemon is moving quite quick. Dragonite takes itself down, or gets taken down to about half HP, and Dragonite now goes down into the red with that Iron Head. This is going to speed up Dragonite even more. We see the Scale Shot doing a lot of damage into the Indeedee. This is going to take it out outright. However, this might give Jesse the exact perfect opportunity to bring in a Tyranitar, get that Excadrill moving as fast as possible, and lock up this game. What did Jesse bring in that 4th slot here? Again, that single speed boost should take it over the top here, but it's Annihilate that is in the back. I know we saw that before, I simply just forgot. So Annihilate makes its way back out onto the battlefield now. With the speed boost for Dragonite, is it faster than the Excadrill? That is the big question here. And again, how fast is this Tatsugiri? That is going to make a massive difference. A single Muddy Water here into the that hits the Excadrill is going to do a decent amount of damage. It's going to break its Focus Sash, and that's going to give Dragonite the opportunity to take it out. I am almost certain. Excadrill, for all as much as I love him, is not the tankiest Pokemon in the world. Alternatively, for Kylan, you could try to go for a switch here. You know that Archaludon is probably not going to be tanking a ground type move here. Jesse is almost priced into trying to take out this Dragonite, but again, Tatsugiri is not something that you can just idly let by. Dragonite goes for a Protect this turn, this time from Kylan. There is no swap out here. Rage Fist comes through and it goes into the Tatsugiri. Takes it out. That Protect just not feeling all that good from the Dragonite here, but this is going to mean a safe switch in for the Archaludon. Excadrill goes for the Iron Head. We saw it do a lot of damage before, but goes into the Protect. So now you have notably an Annihilate with full HP and Final Gambit. If you are Kylan, you have to worry about that. Annihilate can take down probably either of your Pokemon right now, or at the very least take Archaludon down to incredibly low HP, and more than enough for Excadrill to deal with it. Again, I think this Excadrill is still at full HP, if I am correct. That means it's going to take at least 2 shots. It's either going to be a Scale Shot that does enough damage, or we are going to have to see an incredibly powerful Flash Cannon from this Archaludon. Annihilate, fastest Pokemon on the field other than maybe the Dragonite here. It is going to come down to how much that speed boost helped it out. Kylan going for the Terra here. I imagine this is going to be the Archaludon. I think it has to be, just to make sure that it's not going to get beat up too much by an Earthquake here, and it is going to be that Terra Grass. I am worried about what this Final Gambit will do, though. I think a Final Gambit right now onto the Archaludon could just take things out. Scale Shot comes through. It's not going to do nearly enough to this Excadrill. It'll take it down to probably a little bit below half HP, especially with that critical hit, but that is not going to be nearly enough damage to knock it out. Dragonite is going to fall on this turn almost certainly, and again, Final Gambit is the question. Are we going to see a Final Gambit? We could see Close Combat as well. Does Annihilate want to stay on the field and leave it up to the Excadrill? It is just going to be that Rage Fist, which is going to do a ton of damage as well. Will it be enough to take out the Archaludon? Not even close. This thing is incredibly bulky. Iron Head will take out the Dragonite, and now Archaludon is left in a 1v2. Focus Sash is broken, but Annihilate is still at full HP, and Excadrill can still put out good damage. It's going to be the Draco Meteor coming through into the Excadrill. That's going to be a -2 special attack. It is a critical hit. I don't know if that mattered all that much. But now, how are you going to deal with this? Annihilate, it is at full HP, and it has Final Gambit. Never mind. Final Gambit doesn't matter. I'm going to be honest. You're not going to click Final Gambit here. You're going to keep clicking Rage Fist or Close Combat. I think Close Combat is a little bit risky. It's not super effective into the Archaludon, and you did already see that it is incredibly bulky. It has a massive amount of defense here, and if you're dropping your own special defense, I don't know if you're in a great spot. I don't know if a Close Combat will even take it out from this range here. Do you go for another Draco Meteor if you are Kylan? You go for the Electro Shot. Get that +1 special attack boost and some good damage thanks to that Power Earth. Okay. This is going to come down to these next few turns. Are we going to get another critical hit? How much will another close combat do? How much will potential Rage Fist do? Well, we already know how much Rage Fist will do. It'll be not that much. But how much will close combat do? Electro Shot takes Annihilate down to just a little bit over half, does about a third of its HP. If we go for close combat here, we're going to lower our special defense even more, and a hit Draco Meteor should take out that Annihilate. I don't think... Okay, close combat comes through. It looks like we had a low roll and then a high roll. That was the big question. Would close combat do it? And it does. Jesse Romolo taking home round number 3. That got close towards the end there. I honestly had no clue who would win, but I think the low roll into the high roll close combat made things feel a lot better for, or well, that is what wrapped things up for Jesse. If we got a second low roll, or if we didn't get that high roll, then I think there's a world where Draco Meteor takes out that Annihilate, especially at -2. But a very close match between these two players. Very fun match as well with our hot dog bedecked winner. I think so. But we're going to be getting round 4 on to the channel tomorrow. So until then, be safe, be smart, make wise decisions, and farewell.